exactly 7:30 a.m. and of course we are heading straight to the press review as we see what's making headlines that's into the print media, but definitely still looking at the world of business. And of course with me I have the Daily Monitor and the New Vision. But firstly, let's review what's making the business headlines that's in the New Vision. And of course when I hold it here on the top page, we see China starts free goods from Uganda. And of course we shall be looking into this story. It's on the other pages, but meanwhile, all right, actually it's the first very much here. So interesting. Let's review this report. China has announced granting 98%, that's zero, tariff treatment to Uganda and other nine least developed countries' taxable items. And of course, starting December 1st, China will waive all tariffs on 98% of related imports. That's from Afghanistan, there is Benin, there is Burkina Faso, then there is Guinea-Bissau, Lesotho, then there is the Republic of Malawi, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. And of course, reads a statement from the Chinese Customs, that's Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council. So you can see that's what is really transpiring right there. Very remarkable, very good trading relations, of course, between Uganda and China. And this is something remarkable to boost the trade amongst these two countries. As we see, still as I continue to read here, China, according to the Council, intends to create an environment where least developed countries can accelerate that economic growth and development. And definitely China has been a very key country in terms of promoting investments within the African continent. So such a move is not new, I would say that, but it is something that is just improving, of course, more relations between China and the African nations when it comes to matters of trade. Of course, still further here, it says that if implemented, it shall be another step that's towards a wider opening up of the Chinese economy and market to the rest of the world and foster a win-win cooperation that's with the least developed countries. So you can see that's what is really transpiring there. Okay, still here, look, we see that universities, of course, must champion economic transformation, says President Yoweri Museveni. Universities, higher learning institutes should, of course, should champion economic transformation, says the president. And of course, still here in this report, universities and other higher institutions of learning should champion a socio-economic transformation through fostering scientific research. That's President Yoweri Museveni saying. He says, of course, this is a statement Museveni made. He said, you have a role to play in championing socio-economic transformation as universities. It is your responsibility to develop programs that are relevant and align them with national priorities to achieve. That's the Vision 2040. Museveni further added regarding that aspect. So the higher institutes of learning have been entrusted. They are the key to the next transformation. And of course, in a speech read by Vice President Jessica Alupo at Chambogo University on Wednesday, that's the installation of Professor Okedi, the third chancellor of the institute, Museveni noted that the new direction could be achieved, that's through scientific research. So at the state where the nation is, it's a place of the peak of research that has to be embraced. That's if we are to achieve the economic transformation President Museveni talks about. And definitely this comes back in line with the Vision 2040. So you can see that. So as a person, as a university student, you have a role to play to champion to champion economic transformation of this country, Uganda. All right, and now of course we are looking at encroachers eating away Wakiso wetland. That is something to look into. Definitely, we know that these wetlands of great economic importance. They shouldn't just be wasted. All right, now still here, looking at now we're looking at the National Science Innovation Week, which actually ended yesterday. That was at Kololo Independence Grounds. As we see here, experts want hands-on innovators, of course, integrated into formal education. This is something so remarkable regarding this. Of course, there are different innovations that were being showcased right there. So we are going to get into this. And of course, here we see that education experts have demanded that hands-on innovators, of course, to be integrated into that's the formal education system and initiated into the system without requiring academic documents that's from them. These, according to them, will add value to their innovations and motivate more to join the field. This is something, hands-on innovators to be integrated into formal education. You know, what we can call the tertiary, can I say, vocational institutes being formalized. You know, we are talking about hands-on, and it's made much more professional. I guess this is the way to go, not just guessing, but it is the way to go. This is how the Western countries are making out of such hands-on experiences, hands-on innovations, and they are taken to a level that is really competitive on a global perspective. So when we talk about formality, it's a transformation, of course, definitely from the informal to formal, in a way that you can actually present, you know, imagine that hands-on aspect you're doing, because here in Uganda, we largely look at certificate. That's where most of the hands-on are. But imagine a degree in hands-on. That would be something really so unstoppable. I believe such a person is a little bit unstoppable. Okay, still according to still this report, Ahmed Kawesi, the chief executive officer, of course, of a digital company, said that more innovations were happening and around the country locally, and need to be supported with skills and training to increase productivity and course development in the country. So the formal education will be very, very key in terms of pushing up the skills to these innovators, the different innovators, something which will be very key to economic growth and development. And definitely, we see quite a lot of course, innovators showcasing their different aspects here. And of course, during the National Science Week, quite a lot was really there. I mean, Uganda has that great potential, that despite the fact that in the past years our innovation index has been a little bit slanted, you know, it's been going down, it's been going in reds, it's been going in negatives, but definitely I believe something can be done, and such aggressive steps are a key aspect to ensure that the innovation industry is revived. You know, recently there has been a move that has been going on regarding skilling in innovation. You know, equipping the innovators with skills to ensure that their innovations are very capable. Remember, in such a time like this where Uganda is at, everything should be done with an intentional spirit, with an intentional heart. Regarding that, if you're innovating as an innovator, get to understand what is the priority sector for you to put the resources, for you to put your expertise in, simply because it is very, very a tricky area. Sorry. So you find that it's important to consider what is the priority area as you're innovating. You know, we have quite so many innovations that are just seated down, not because they are not good innovations, but simply because they are just not relevant to what the economy needs at this particular time. So with the hands-on integration, definitely it's a package that comes along with quite so many other aspects that you will be able to know as an innovator. What should I innovate in? What is necessary at such a time? All right. Inflation is under control. That's according to Bank of Uganda boss, still here, the new vision. Bank of Uganda has defended the finance ministry decision of limiting budget releases, urging that it was a fiscal measure that was necessary, that's to control inflation. Deputy Governor Michael Atingi Igo told the members of parliament on Wednesday that inflation, which rose from 2.9 that's to 10.6%, had gradually endangered the economy, which necessitated various measures, including which included increasing the central bank rate. That's to control the inflation, because there were quite a lot and lots of fears regarding that aspect. All right, still going on further here. In July, other than the wage bill, the finance ministry did not, of course, did not release funds for development expenditures and operational activities. Uh, at that time, the shilling had depreciated by 8%, and the situation was running out of control. But the situation now seems to have improved. The currency has now stabilized, and in some instances, it has even appreciated against the dollar. So you can see that's according to Dr. Michael Atingigo, of course, the deputy governor, the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Uganda. So that is what is really inspiring. Inspiring right there. Inflation is under control. So that's a word of encouragement to the economy. All right, and of course, we see here still vocational schools / practical lessons. Wow. The Uganda Business and Technical Education Board has called for that subsidies on materials that's used for practical work in vocational institutes. The board noted that the cost of the materials is high, and that this affects the education and training institutions to perform to the required training standards. According to Professor Omal, the board chairperson of the board in charge of the Vocational and Technical Institute, I say that many vocational institutes are tempted to reduce the number of practical lessons that's offered, which could compromise the quality of graduates from these institutes. And with this decision regarding slashing of the practical lessons, it's still coming back to expenses that some vocational institutes are planning to get rid of practical lessons. But now if they get rid of the practical lessons, then they no longer seem to be vocational schools, because that's what distinguishes them from other higher learning institutes. It's the aspect of that touch of the practical, So, but now, according still further to this report, this calls for government to offer support to technical institutes in form of materials or grants, and of course, he's saying, of course, a real-life project is marked and sought by the board and contributes towards the final grading of the candidates. So that's the government is urged to ensure that it engages its full, of course, capacity, its full capabilities in assisting the vocational institutes. That's to get the required materials to enable the students to get the skills that they need. So you can see that's really what is transpiring right there. All right, still quite a lot of many stories, and of course we see nuts from, of course, looking at its value addition mechanisms. It's really done a great job. Something there. Okay, of course, nuts highlighting its achievements. All right, I'm done with the new vision, and at this particular time, let's review something from the Daily Monitor. Just one report. I'm just caught up a little bit with time, but let's review just one, then get straight to the international news. We already passed time, but we are still looking in here to see what's really transparent, and we are trying to, of course, to see here what's really transparent business in the Daily Monitor. All right, something really so interesting here is experts task media houses to broaden revenue sources. That is something to look into in the Daily Monitor. All right, it's exactly 44 minutes past the hour, that's of 7 a.m. and at this particular time, let's get straight that's to the international news. And talking about international news, we start with Kenya. As we see, Kenya is to get 52 billion, that's Kenyan shillings loan after IMF board approval. The IMF staff and the Kenyan authorities have reached a staff level agreement that's on economic policies to conclude the fourth reviews, that's of the 38th month. And of course, looking at the EFC and ECF arrangements, Kenya would have to access about 433 that's million US dollars in financing once the review is formally completed by the International Monetary Fund Executive Board. The new government has expressed strong commitment to the IMF supported program. The economy remains broadly resilient. However, volatile international commodity prices, tighter external financing conditions, higher inflation, global slowdown in growth, and continued drought have created that's a challenging backdrop for economic policy making that's in the nation of Kenya. Kenya's program is helping the country through these global shocks that's by anchoring policies to support inclusive growth while addressing debt vulnerabilities. Okay, the Kenyan economy has been resilient in the face of challenging environment, and of course we are looking at real GDP grew by 6%. That's on year on year in the first half of 2022, and of course supported by robust services sector, and of course activity notwithstanding a decline in agricultural output. Higher food and energy prices have pushed up inflation and pressured the external position. And of course, looking at the same time, the peaceful completion of election has lifted uncertainty and credit to private sector, and of course is expanding. And we see star projects growth that was estimated at 5.3% in 2022 amid domestic policy tightening and a global slowdown that are likely to also weigh on the 2023 projected growth. The medium-term outlook remains favorable, supported that's by proactive reform efforts by the new government. So that's what regarding that. Still, maybe to continue here, there has been good progress on the fiscal adjustment that's to address debt vulnerabilities through pressures which remain elevated. The overall deficit on cash basis declined from 8.2% of GDP, that's in financial year 2021 to 6.2% of GDP in financial year that's 2022. This was supported by strong tax revenue, which increased from 12.6 to 3.7% of gross domestic product. However, a constrained borrowing environment meant that planned external commercial financing did not materialize. The lack of funds contributed to 0.7% of the gross domestic product in unpaid obligations that were carried over that's to the financial year 2022-2023. Significant budgeted spending in the early months of this fiscal year, much of it for fuel subsidies, pose an additional challenge. All right, now still Kenya still making headlines. Of course, in the world of business, we see Kenya to manufacture, of course, smartphones at 5,000 shillings. Now, when I'm talking about the Kenyan currency, and of course that's according to what President Ruto says, the newly elected president of the Republic of Kenya. President William Ruto announced that Kenya is set to manufacture the cheapest smartphone that's in Africa within a year, and of course whose cost will be less than 5,000 Kenyan shillings. President Ruto, speaking at the micro, small and medium enterprises that's roundtable forum on Thursday morning, said that having a cheap smartphone will ensure that all Kenyans can access digital platforms for business and accessing the government-related services. The president noted that they are already working with the telecommunications sector so as to come up with the cheaper gadgets which is capable of doing everything. Today, the cheapest smartphone is between 10,000 Kenyan shillings, and that's to 15,000 Kenyan shillings, and of course, we want to use it. I want to promise the country, this is what Ruto says. He says that I want to promise the country that in the next 8 to 12 months, they will have the cheapest smartphone in Africa manufactured in Kenya. That's a statement from the newly elected president of Kenya. The head of state also announced that his administration is working towards moving about 90% of government services to digital platforms between a period that's of just 6 months to 1 year. The president noted that digitization of government services will ensure that all citizens access services at the comfort of their homes. President also announced has underscored the importance of that of technology in upscaling trade and of course in the medium and small intermediary enterprises sector. And of course, winding up with the statement, he said that they have an output, they have about 15% of government services in the digital platform, and they want to ensure that between 6 to 12 months, they will have moved 90% of government services to the digital platforms. So currently, the digital government services in Kenya are at 15%, but in a space of 1 year, there is a plan to make them be 90%, as we see 90% of government services will have transitioned to the digital. So that's Kenya for you right there. It's exactly 51 minutes. That's past the hour of 7 a.m. And at this particular time, let's get straight to the business tips and quotes to inspire your day. And of course, as we're heading into the weekend, you can think about these quotes. Meditate upon these quotes. Ponder on these quotes. They will make a difference in your business career or whatever other entrepreneurial venture you're planning to venture into. Let's get into the business tips and quotes, but firstly, let's review the business tip of the day. All right. The business tip of the day says get organized. It says to achieve business success, you need to be organized. It will help you complete tasks, stay on top of things to be done. A good way to be organized is to create a to-do list every day. Something so influential right there. Do you have a to-do list every day? Oh, you just wake up and you let the day take you the way it should take you. Remember, one thing which should be also put into consideration, the greatest entrepreneurs that we look up to and we really admire, they don't let the day control them. They enter the day when they have controlled it. You know how the day should move. You lay down strategies to ensure that you achieve the intended objectives of that day. So if you live a life where you can control your day, that means you can control your entire month. You can decide, you can plan for your entire month. Don't let the month decide for you. I know this is quite a common saying. You wake up in the morning and you say, let me see what this day brings for me. That's not right. I discredit that statement. It's not right. You have to take charge of your day. And you take charge of your day by making a to-do list. So that is something you should really know. I'm so confident about that. It has worked out. All right. Now let's wind this up with the business quote of the day. The business quote of the day was written by Socrates and of course father of Western philosophy. It says the secret of change is to focus that's all your energy, not fighting. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Of course, it's not the first time we're mentioning this quote here, but of course, if you're a first-time viewer, you get to understand that it's always not important to focus your energy on the old, but build on the new. The past is just a molding experience to prepare you for the brighter future that lies ahead. So whatever transpired, whatever happened, just bury it. Like what they say, bury the hatchet. And you'll be in position to actually move on with your life, your career, and you will gain ultimate success. 55 minutes past 7 a.m. and at this particular time, let's get into a short commercial break. We return. Good morning.